old man pulled down the switch of the power switch, and from that moment on, the world was shrouded in darkness because the king loved war. Soldiers had been fighting all the time, but the old man just wanted to sleep. However, when the king saw that the sky had turned dark, he directly took out a flashlight to illuminate the fighting soldiers. The old man, who had just fallen asleep, was woken up again. He had no choice but to pull down the power switch once more, then turned his shower head towards the world. As the water droplets began to fall, a heavy rain poured down, and soon the flood submerged the small world. The old man thought he could finally sleep, but never expected that the king of the human world had just built a submarine. Before long, the old man was woken up again by the sounds of the war in the human world. Due to the great flood, they had shifted from land battles to naval battles. When the old man saw this, he angrily pulled up the chain and unplugged the plug. The flood on the small world quickly receded, but even though the ships were stranded, the fighting continued. The soldiers returned to the land from the sea, and under the king's command, the war went on. So the old man had to come up with a new plan. He built a stadium along the road leading to the world. As expected, the soldiers immediately put down their weapons and left to compete. But before long, the old man was woken up again by the noise of war. It turned out that the soldiers had started fighting again. This time in the sky above the stadium, the old man looked at the war-loving king, feeling very angry. He picked up the phone beside him. On the other end, the sword-wielding man from hell received the order and sent two of his subordinates to the human world. The king had no idea what kind of trouble his actions would bring to himself, and was still busy managing the battle. The hell messengers emerging from the ground took the king and went to hell by elevator. On their way to the cell, the king saw a stranger struggling to push a rock uphill. He was very confused, but he was still locked in the cell by the hell messengers holding scythes. There was also a huge lock attached to the cell door. After Death and his men left, the man who had been pushing the rock was now being chased by it. However, when the king saw this man, he suddenly had an idea. When the man ran to the front of the king's cell, the king saved him and asked him to open the door lock, saying that he would take him away. The man agreed, but as soon as the king came out, he locked the man in the cell. Strangely enough, the man didn't resist at all. Maybe it was because he thought being locked in the cell was more comfortable than pushing the rock. The king didn't care at all and just quietly left the place.